There's one huge mistake that almost destroyed the legacy that my family built for over 30 years. And I've noticed that a lot of entrepreneurs also make the same mistake but don't realize that they're doing it. And I ended up learning this lesson pretty late. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you the 5 tactical steps you need to do to make sure you never make this mistake. And that one mistake is that we as a family just got soft. You see, as my dad had come from the slums, he had this soft spot towards helping the poor people to get out of poverty like he did. However, as you know, when we're running a company, it's one thing to be nice and compassionate, but it's another thing to lower your standards down and allow inappropriate behavior. And sometimes it gets into the gray area of like, is this actually wrong or is this not so right? Take for an example. When a customer calls you to your phone, you have 2 choices. You can respond kindly with energy, with excitement, or you can just simply respond, "Hello, hi, how can I help you?" Now, with that tone of voice, is it actually wrong? No, because you're actually not being rude to the customer. But can you actually make it better? Can you make it more energetic? Can you make it more happy that, for example, "Hi, how can I help you today?" You see, just one subtle change in the tone of voice can completely change the whole tone of the conversation. Now, if we are not careful, we might find out that there are areas in the business that we tend to lower our standards simply because what our team members are doing is actually not wrong, but it can always be done better. And I've also found that sometimes I was trying to be nice and was favoring people liking me and felt the need to be accepted more than adhering to the standards that I myself actually created. As we all know, the best way to create SOPs or standard operating procedures is to record a video of you doing the action yourself. Now, in my company, I actually record my sales calls. I record my phone calls. I have a clear checklist and an SOP of almost every single process in the company that relates to the customer for our sales team and as well as our customer service team to review and watch as they join our company. Now, the problem is that when you actually go through and audit what the team is doing, you might find that there are places where they could do better, that they're not falling completely short, that they're not being rude to the customer, but they're also not adhering completely to the standards that I created. Now, the problem is that when we let our standards fall, what we're basically saying to the rest of the team is that, oh, Jedi, the CEO, is willing to actually compensate or lower the standards to what he built. So you create this snowball effect of standards being lowered until it gets to a point where you actually feel that, wait, this is not right. And then the next problem that happens is that there is a lot more friction for you to actually remove those people, especially when you play nice for too long. So in order for all of you to prevent this, you have to start drawing the line today. Here are 5 things that you can implement right now to make sure that this does not happen in your company. First off, I want you to revisit and reinforce the standards publicly. This means that calling your team for a meeting and as well as weekly meetings for the next 90 days to enforce the standards in the areas that you see that you've been slacking off or lowering your standards. So that's the first thing. Step number 2 is to hold your leaders accountable first, because if you are setting the standards and if your leaders are not accountable for those standards and they are the ones that are bringing the standards down, well, perhaps it's time to change your leaders. So never let your leaders lower your standards. And if they have lowered your standards, it may be time that they may not be the right fit for the company. And I've had to change my leaders multiple times to ensure that our standards are kept. Step number 3, create a no excuse culture with compassion. You see, there's a difference between being nice and being kind. You can still have strict standards while being kind. As you know, there are multiple ways of saying the same thing. So we can still be nice, be polite, but yet adhere to a high standard. So make sure that you don't feel guilty or don't feel like you're being rude or unkind when you implement and set high standards. Remove emotions as much as you can. I know sometimes I still struggle with being too emotional, but take the emotional aspect out and speak regarding the data, paint the picture for your team to see that if we continue to lower our standards like this, that ultimately it's them who's going to suffer, and as well as their team members, and as well as the whole business that's going to suffer. So we're not going to allow those things to happen. Step number 4, don't wait too long to get rid of the people that may not be the right fit for your business in the long run. I touched on this briefly regarding your leaders, but this applies to the rest of your crew in the company as well. And I found that sometimes, especially in my business where we found out too late that the people that we brought on to fill certain roles or tasks were actually the wrong fit to our culture. So if you find those people early on that they are not a good fit to your culture, that they may not be a great fit for the future that you're trying to build for your business, make sure that you do not keep them too long and fire fast, and as well as be straight, stern, and know that it's probably the best for them and for you that you guys part ways. And as you know, culture is built by the things that happen when you're not there. And I found that actually I've had to fire a lot of people out of the company, even though they've been with the company for so long, because they're just simply not a fit for what we're trying to build for the future ahead. Number 5, review standards quarterly. After the first 90 days that I talked about in the first step, review them as frequently as you can, but the minimum every quarter. And you may find that there are areas that needs to be improved, that there are areas that needs to be uplifted, or perhaps there are things that have already been the habits of your team and that you can slowly remove them out and implement new standards and new habits into the company. Always make sure that you're always lifting the capacity of your team, showing them what's possible, and never lowering your standards. With all that said, I believe that as a CEO, as a business owner, it's always important to keep yourself up to a high standard and always make sure that you surround yourself with people that takes you to another level as well. And if you have no one else in your surrounding who is constantly challenging you, feel free to reach out to me on Instagram, DM me the word coach, and I'll see if we can work with you directly to help take you and your business to the next level. I hope you enjoyed this short, quick lesson that I've learned in my 15 years of entrepreneurship. I hope you don't do the same mistakes and go through the same torment that I had to go through. I hope it serves you. God bless, and I'll see you on the next one. Thank you for watching.